Okay, I think I'm live. Yep, I'm live. Hello, everybody. Hi, Cat. Hi, Grasshopper. Nona, hello. Witch Cat, if you're still here, hello. And Frank, of course. And anybody that's lurking, I don't have any idea how many people are in here right now, but just saying hello. I'm not sure what we are going to talk about tonight, but I got, here she is. I got, what was I even saying? I don't even know what I was saying. I decided to stream tonight because I haven't streamed for a while. I've been working on a drawing for somebody. And no, you can't see it yet. But I might be here by myself tonight, so we might not stay forever. We'll see. So we got to find a subject to talk about. My eyes are kind of watery and red because Wyoming is doing this thing where it's like saying it's spring. Nope, it's not. It's spring. Nope, it's not. And on the days when it's warmer, like today, it got up to a little bit, like I think 44 or 45. And I opened up the doors and stuff because it felt so good to let some air in. But at the same time, when it went on days when it's like that, we've been getting a high pollen count. And then it turns around, and tomorrow I think we got a high of 33, and it's going to snow. So up to 3 inches, it said. So yeah, there we go. It's not spring yet. But yeah, so if you notice that my eyes are red and blurry, that's kind of what's going on with that. And then there's some little tiny little gnats that came in when I had the doors open. So something must have hatched out there, but I don't know what they are. Some kind of little no-see-em bug that are driving me crazy. And if the mods need to be on their toes tonight because we had some drama over on another channel that I mod, and somebody got banned, and I wasn't even there. I don't even think I was awake. I think it was after I went to bed, but I wasn't there when he got banned. But for some reason, he got it in his little head, bless his heart, that I banned him. And he has been coming onto my channel and leaving like some really nasty little comments. And I keep banning that. I keep banning him, and then he just comes back with another name and leaves another little nasty comment. So I think he's totally obsessed with me. And somebody needs to tell him that I'm just not interested. But if he comes in tonight and you see somebody like say something and get banned, that's what's going on with that. Because, you know, that's the way it goes. Hey, Craig. So yeah, the mods are kind of watching for him. They know who he is. Or they'll know. He keeps changing his name. Like one night he went on this other, I mod on the King Frostmere channels, and he went on there one night after I went to bed. He waited. He's a chicken shit too, because he waited till after there was no mods in there because it was really late at night. And then he went on with my name with punchy paints and said all kinds of horrible stuff, you know, pretending he was me. But of course, anybody that knows me could see right away that he wasn't blue, so he wasn't a mod, so it wasn't me. But yeah, he's just obsessed with me right now. Or no, I don't know what's wrong with people either. And the thing is I'm not even the one that banned him. And I'm not going to tell him who, because you don't call out your other mods. That's just, you know, you don't throw mods under the bus. So no. But anyway, yeah, so if he shows up, and if you see someone show up and say something nasty and get banned right away, you'll know that. Oh, Sketty noticed my little name change on my little tag, huh? I thought it fit me rather well. Damn little gnats. I wish I could get rid of them. I should get some bug spray. But I hate bug spray, because I think it isn't good for you. You like my name too, Cat? I thought it fit me rather well. So I don't know if Blackie's going to make it because he said he was really busy tonight and he'd try, but he didn't know if he'd make it or not. So it might just be me up here. So I thought that what I could do, now this is up to you guys. You guys tell me if you want me to do this. Is I could go to like my paintings folder, and just go through stuff and tell a story about each one of my paintings. And if it reminds me of another story that's unrelated, then I can do that. Or somebody can come up here with me. Which you guys want to do? It's up to you. Let me know if you want to do that or not. Cat says good. Grasshopper says hello all, so he's not answering my questions. And Nona says she'd like the paintings, and Cat says please, so that's what we'll do. We will go, let me open up my paintings thing. Let me see, where's my file of paintings? ACEO cards, drawings. I actually lost all my drawings, so I'm starting up another file and trying to like add them to it as I find them. I thought I'd lost my paintings too, but I found it was like gone one day and back the next, so I don't know what the hell my computer is doing. Like I said, I totally lost my drawings file. It just disappeared off my desktop. And then my paintings file disappeared off my next desktop. But actually, it wasn't the next day. It was a couple days later that it was back again. So don't ask me what's going on with that, but I'm just glad that I didn't lose my paintings too. So we'll start with this one. Hang on. Let me get over to share. Present. Share screen. Share screen. Window and that one. This was an oil painting. It was like 12 by 24. And it's called Mountain Music. And it is a friend of mine, an old friend of mine from when I lived in the Dalles, Oregon. His name's Jeff. And he did some posing for me because I asked him to. And I purposely got him set up like next to a window with the good light coming in to throw some good shadows and good light. And I can tell a story about Jeff if you want. I'll go ahead and do that. Like I say, he was a good friend of mine when I was married, and him and his wife used to come over all the time. And we did a lot of work for free work, helping his parents get set up. They bought a chunk of land and were moving a big double wide onto it, and we helped them dig the septic tank out and all that kind of, and all the water lines and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, Jeff had a really sick sense of humor, which is why him and I got along really quite well. And this one story, some of you have probably heard the story before, and some of you probably have not. But this one day, there was a bluegrass festival it was when we lived in the Dalles. Windows 95 was an excellent operating system. I think I've got Windows 10 on this one. You know what really sucked? Like the worst one I've ever had, Grasshopper, was Vista. That sucked. But yeah, I've got Windows 10 on this one. I think part of the deal is the computer did an update, and now it wants me to put all of my photos into cloud. And so it's made it extremely hard, like to transfer photos from my phone and stuff. It doesn't want to do it anymore. They just go into cyberspace and won't transfer. So the way that I've gotten around that is when I have a photo on my phone that I need to transfer to the computer, I take photographs of my artwork with my phone, and then I email them to myself from my phone to the computer, and then pull them out of my email onto my desktop. And that's how I've been getting around it, but it's just totally irritating. But right after it started wanting me to transfer stuff to cloud, my whole drawings file just disappeared. So I think that, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that maybe that was like a push to try to get me to use the cloud system. But yeah. Hi, Mickey M. Please Google Jurgen Klopp. Okay, I will do that. Does it look like him or something? It's my friend Jeff from when I lived in the Dalles. I think. Oh no, that didn't work. Hang on, I gotta do it again. Okay. Hold on. Oops, I'm on the wrong, got my keys on the, fingers on the wrong keys. Okay. You are. How do I spell that again? Hang on, I gotta look again. Jurgen. Oh, there it is. German football manager. Or soccer manager. He does kind of look a little bit like him, huh? That one looks a lot like him. Hang on. I'll show you guys real quick. Hold on. I got sidetracked again. Let me see. I gotta stop that one for a second. And do this. And I'll share it. If you look at that one looks quite a bit like my friend Jeff. Okay. So now I'll go back to the painting again. And I was starting a story about Jeff because he had a very sick sense of humor like me. And one day, we all decided that we were going to go to this bluegrass festival that was in the Dalles down at the rodeo grounds. And the way that the rodeo grounds was, it was on a rock ledge above the river and hotter than hell when the sun was out because it was just rock all around it. So we get there and they had a stage set up on one end of the rodeo arena, and all the middle part that was all dirt and stuff, that's where you sat. Everybody would just had their blankets and was sitting on blankets in the middle there. And they had a beer garden. And when we parked the car, when we got there and parked the car, the parking, there wasn't like a big parking lot or anything. It was just a big grass field. And they had everybody, like park in lines with room in between to walk. They had people out there pointing out where to park for everybody to park. And we'd gotten there early, so we were in the front row of the parking, and there was a bunch of parking behind us. So anyway, so we were there all day, and they would just have bluegrass bands up for about 45 minutes each, and then they'd switch to another band and just keep going. They went all day. It was a lot of fun. But everybody got really drunk because of the beer garden. But I don't drink beer. I don't like beer. So I was like the designated driver for me and my husband, because like I say, I don't drink. So I can't say that. I drink, but I don't drink beer. I don't like beer. So anyway, so I hadn't been drinking at all. And it was hotter than hell that day. When we got there, it was like 9 o'clock in the morning. And if you looked up the Columbia River Gorge, all you could see was a haze which is a pretty good indication that it's going to be hotter than hell. And it was really hot down there. So we were all sunburned, and most of us been drinking and shit. So we talked to Jeff and his wife, and which is the guy in the painting, and they suggested that we meet at the pizza place and have pizza. So we're like, okay, cool, we'll do that. So when we were talking about what we were going to do, I had started our car up and turned the air conditioner on and shut the door to let it cool off a bit while we were talking about what we were going to do. And we had this big old Chrysler Newport, which is like a big old boat. It's like a Cadillac. A big car. Gas hog. So anyway, so we go. And we decided we're going to go meet for pizza. And they left. And I got in the car. It had a big old hood in it, and it had been running for a little while, so it was decent to climb into because the air conditioner was on. And I asked hi, Chew. So I asked my ex-husband, I said, oh, this part's embarrassing. I asked my ex-husband, I said, is there anything in front of me? Because instead of trying to back up when there was a million people walking behind me and we were in the front row, I was just going to pull forward in the grass and make a U-turn to get out of there. So I asked my ex-husband if there's anything in front of me. And he said, just a blanket and some shoes, but don't worry about it. So I pulled forward and I felt the tires roll up on something, and I heard this guy screaming. And I backed up and I burst into tears. My husband's yelling at me. He's like, go, let's get out of here. Why'd you stop for it? I said, because I just ran over somebody. And we get out, and the guy had, this guy who had a pickup and camper right next to our car decided that he was going to crawl in the shade and pass out underneath my car. So the blanket and shoes that my husband saw, the shoes actually had somebody in them. And when I rolled for it, and this is a big old boat, I'm telling you, that car is big. And I broke his one leg. And I'm like bawling my eyes out. And finally, and he didn't want an ambulance. People helped get him in the back of his camper, and his wife drove him to the hospital. Gave him my insurance information and all that crap. And I was really upset. And so we went to the pizza place, and Jeff and his wife were there. And when we got there, they said, what took you guys so long? So, I'm like bawling my eyes out, and I said, I ran over a guy, and I think I broke his leg, and he's probably going to sue me. And Jeff says he won't sue you. He wouldn't have a leg to stand on. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to kill you. But yeah, that was Jeff. Every camper's biggest fear, I know, huh? When I went to my insurance company the next morning, I went and talked to my insurance guy, and I sat down and I told him what happened, and he started laughing. And he was sitting there laughing so hard he was crying. And here's me, I couldn't even drive the car without getting out and looking underneath of it for like 2 months. And the insurance agent is laughing his ass off. And then like a couple months later, the guy started calling me and leaving me messages that I needed to call him right now because I needed to pay his hospital bills for his broken leg. And I'm like, what the heck? So I called my insurance agent because they should have covered it, right? And my insurance agent told me not to answer the phone and just ignore him, because what it was the insurance would not cover him because he wasn't a pedestrian. Which I guess technically he wasn't, because he was sleeping underneath my car. But yeah. But everybody thought it was hilarious. But I remember about 2 months after that, I was listening to the radio when they had on the news that some guy at the car races in Portland had done the same thing. He had like crawled underneath someone's hood and passed out. And he was killed. The guy was killed when the car rolled forward. So it could have been really bad, but it wasn't It wasn't good, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Anyway, so yeah, that's the story of the time that I ran over a guy. So I'm going to move on to the next painting now. And you guys probably didn't want to hear all that, but like I say, I'm going to move on to the next painting. And I'll see if I can do it without starting the share screen over again. Okay, let's see what shows up. Is it the elk or did it go blank? It's the elk. Okay. This is a bull elk that was in Yellowstone National Park. 16 by 20 painting. It's an old guy. It's probably his last winter. And I sent out a bunch of little ACEO cards today. I sent out a bunch of little stuff, and then tomorrow I'm going to try to go back to the post office and send out all the bigger stuff. But the little stuff is going in like Christmas and New Year's cards. I have that elk on it because that's how far behind I am. Everybody's getting their Christmas card now. So yeah. So anyway, yeah, that was a 16 by 20 painting. And this guy, it's an 18 by 24 oil painting. And he was at the county fair in Massachusetts. And he was doing like showing people how to make brooms. And I'm not sure exactly what he was doing at that exact moment, but that's what he was a broom maker. And behind him with the letters and stuff on it, in the background is his wagon, because he had like a wagon set up. And then he was like showing people how to make brooms. So it was pretty cool. Anyway, like I said, a 18 by 24 painting. Oh, and I entered that one in the Cheyenne Frontier Days art show, which is a really big Western art show. And it got first place in oil paintings that year. Plus, I sold it at the show too. This one was just a little painting. And again, that's in Yellowstone. And of course, it's a mountain goat. I think the painting was like just a little 9 by 12. But it was funny. It was fun playing around with the colors of the rocks and stuff. So I enjoy and playing around with the background, because I'm always striving to improve my backgrounds. But my ultimate goal is to be able to have like a really loose background without a whole lot of detail, and have all the detail in the animal itself, but have it blend together perfectly. So that's what my ultimate goal is, to do that, be able to do that. So my backgrounds could be better, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it. And on to the next one. And this is Grace. And there's lots of stories about Grace, but I think I've told most of them before. Was he aware that he was being painted? No, I don't think so. Was the goat aware that it was being painted? Oh, definitely. He knew. He was posing for me. Okay. So this is my painting, Grace, and it was an 18 by 24. And I've got a lot of stories about her, but I think I've told them all before, so I'm not going to tonight. So, okay, let me go and move on to whatever's next. This is called The Kid, and it was a 20 by 40 oil painting. And it is of Jason, who was this kid that lived down the canyon from me when I lived in Eastern Washington. And his grandparents had a big ranch, and this was at their branding. And he was probably about 10 years older, I would guess. But he was a little shit. I mean, he was pretty full of himself. But when he got older, he went on to get a scholarship and become a team roping champion at a college. So he was a pretty good little cowboy, I guess. This is a friend of mine that had a ranch in Arlington. He was like he didn't own the ranch. He was a ranch manager in Arlington, Oregon, which is along the Columbia River past the Dalles. And we went there. This was like early in the morning. We were just getting ready to ride out and go round up some cows. And this is it's a 16 by 20 oval oil painting, hence the black, poorly done, trying to like get myself out of the background of holding the painting up. It's a 16 by 20 oval, and it is a gray jay, or what we called in Oregon when I was growing up in Oregon, which is where he's from. We call them camp robbers because they would hang out. They liked timber, and they would hang out and steal stuff off the picnic tables. And that's just a little landscape that I did for a friend for Christmas. Just a little quickie landscape of her ranch. And that was a barn that I did for somebody that was just absolutely in love with barns, and they really wanted me to do one, so I did that. And that is a raccoon, of course. Rocky raccoon. That was 11 by 14 oil. Not a very good photograph of it because you see all the sparkle and stuff from the light. So I didn't get a real good photograph of it, but it is what it is sometimes. And that is a 12 by 24 oil painting of a mute swan on Cape Cod when I lived on Cape Cod. Let me check the comments section here. Nona. We need to have her as an emoji. Grace, I could do that. Anyway, yeah, so that's a swan. We only have a few people in here. I don't know. Do you guys want to keep going, or? I don't like say I got a feeling that Blackie's probably not going to show up. He might, but I'm not going to count on it. I'm kind of waiting to see also if GRB shows up, because he wanted that little painting of the Indian girl dancing, and I got to make sure he still wants it and have him pay for it and get it sent to him, because somebody else was asking me about it today too. But GRB's got first dibs on it. But I haven't been on, so I haven't seen him to see if he still wants it. So if anybody sees him, tell him to come in here and tell me if he wants it or not. Oh, thank you. I like painting water. It's kind of fun, especially when you get close to shore and you got all the reflections and over the top of the sand showing underneath and stuff. Kind of fun to do. Let me see here. Go to the next one. You guys have probably seen most of these paintings before. But oh, the swan, when oh, dog, quit! I just barely moved my foot. When I was getting the reference photos that this swan came from, I like set myself up on the bank. There's a pair of swans out on this lake. The thing with the mute swans is they don't travel. Once they have a lake, they stay there. And they'll raise their babies and then drive them off, and they just stay in the same place and have their babies year after year. And they pair up and they just stay on the one lake. Unlike like the trumpeter swans and tundra swans like migrate, but the mute swans don't. They just, once they have a lake, they stay there. So anyway, there was a pair of the mute swans out in the lake, and I wanted to do a painting. So I pulled over, and my daughter was with me, and I had a loaf of bread, And I set myself up on the bank, and I told her to go down to the edge of the lake and throw some bread to him to lure him in closer. So she was doing that, and they came in really close to eat the bread and stuff. And then she ran out of bread. And mute swans are kind of nasty, and they're big. And they came out of the water and started chasing her, and they chased her back to the car. And she was screaming and running for the car and jumped in the car. And I was sitting on the bank, and I got to admit, I was laughing my ass off, which was kind of mean of me, but it was kind of funny. Yeah. This one was called Twilight. And it's a very old oil painting, so it was just like a snapshot that was in a photo album, and I pulled it out, and when I got a computer and stuff, and I pulled it out and scanned it. So yeah, it's not the greatest photo in the world, but it was an 18 by 24 oil painting, and it was the first time that I did this where I took because I'm always learning, right? So the background and stuff was fairly dark because it was twilight. There was just, the sun was just setting, and a beautiful light on the horse. And I had a few people like get really mad because the mare's so skinny, but she was out on the range and she just had a baby. It's not like a horse that's grain fed in the barn to have its baby and stuff. It's like totally different. And she's totally healthy. They're just skinnier that way. But anyway, so, all the areas where the light is hitting, you can't see it in the photograph, unfortunately. But what I did was I painted them all pure white. And then I took transparent colors, because in oil paints there's varying degrees of transparency. So I used all colors that I knew were fairly transparent. And then I used this stuff that makes it even more transparent and liquidy. And I painted over the top of the white with the transparent colors. So what that does, there was no white left, but what it does is, because the colors are transparent, when daylight hits the painting, the light goes through the transparent colors and hits that white in the background or underneath, and comes and bounces back out at you. So it makes all the light areas like totally glow. And I had it at an art show in Ellensburg, big Western art show at the time in Ellensburg, Washington. And I had it that year in my room at the art show. And people were like trying to look, like moving the painting away from the wall and looking behind it, because they thought that I had lights underneath of it, like behind the painting, to make it glow like that. So that was kind of fun. But the way that the Ellensburg art show worked is you entered a couple pieces into their auction. On Saturday night, they had a huge auction. And it was one of those things where there would be like hundreds of people there, and they would have like women walking around with bottles of champagne, keeping everybody's champagne glass full, which I assume helps with auctioning. But you'd enter the show, and there'd be like, that show there was first, second, and third places, best of show, and People's Choice Award, which all were money prizes. And anyway, I had entered this painting. Oh, and then you rent the rooms and like set it up with your artwork. So people walked around the hotel. All different hotel rooms had people's artwork hanging. And I took along like barn boards that I would cover the walls with, and then hang the paintings on the barn boards. But anyway, so I had this painting in my room, but I had entered it in the show. I entered it and a drawing. And the drawing got into the show, but the oil painting didn't make it into the show. It was rejected. So I had it in my room, and a bunch of artists came in. I mean, like a group of about 10 to 12 artists from different rooms all came in and were looking at this painting and asking me how I made it glow like that and stuff. So I was explaining it to everybody, how I did it. And one of the artists said, "Why the hell didn't you enter this painting in the show?" And I said, "Well, I did, but it was rejected." And the other artists were like, "What the hell?" And the whole group of them marched down to the offices to ask the people that ran the show why the hell they didn't take my painting into the show. And I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. But I guess the reason that they didn't take my painting into the show was because every year I entered a charcoal drawing, and I was becoming well known for my charcoal drawings. So they took the charcoal drawing instead of the painting. But anyway, that's the story about that painting. And this one was a 16 by 20 oil painting. And this little guy was in the parade in the Dells. And he was one of the Indians from, I forget the name of the tribe, but they were down the Columbia River. I don't remember the name of the tribe right now, but yeah, it was pretty cool to do this. And the concha shells, doesn't really show in the photograph, but I was like, I had a piece of blue material, and I was like I had a concha shell, and I was holding it up against the material and turning it at the different angles that the shells were at to see where the reflection from the blue would hit on each shell and stuff to get the color right. And then the hand didn't show in the reference photo that I took because I just took it real quick. So his hand is actually one of my kids' hands. So yeah. And this one got Best in Show at a art show that was in Omak every year, in Omak, Washington. And this is a very big bobcat tom that a friend of mine took the photograph out his window because there was a pair of bobcats that killed a young buck and drug it underneath of his porch. And they made a den underneath of his porch and lived there all winter long. So he got quite a few really nice photographs of him. But this tom was like, guesstimate about 230 pounds. It was a really big cat. And I did this painting for him. It was like a commission for him. And this was just some elk, a cow, and a couple of elk calves in Yellowstone. Not the best photograph of it, but it is what it is. And it was a 16 by 20 oil. That's just that little painting framed. And this guy, I think it's an ibis, if I remember right. He was at a zoo that I went to in Fort Worth, Texas, when I lived close to there. I lived above Dallas for a while. And he was actually just like sitting on some cement blocks. But I thought he would be happier up in the mountains, so I put him up in the mountains. And he was actually a lot of fun to do. It was a little painting, though. It was like 9 by 12. And this is a buffalo in the spring in Yellowstone, because I love buffalo with snow all over them. One of my favorite things to paint. Bobcat is not the same as a lynx. A lynx is quite a bit bigger than a bobcat. A bobcat is like a lot smaller cat than a lynx is. And it doesn't have the little tufts at the ends of its ears. And its feet aren't huge like a lynx's feet are huge, but lynx are good, like 3 times bigger than a bobcat. Oh, there's Divine. Hi. Hello, hello. How are you? Oh, I'm sorry to hear you have a medical issue, but I'm glad you have a few days off and get better. Oh, they got to do surgery on your stomach. That doesn't sound good. Okay. So we will move on. Oh, let me see if I missed anything else. I say sorry, I was looking at the paintings and not watching every single thing in chat. I see where Divine came in. I totally missed it. Did Blackie pop in? Oh, yeah, I did. Sounds like he might try to come in if he gets back in time. I think he had some doctor's appointments or something to take his parents to. Okay, back to, is anybody tired of looking at paintings yet? Oh, hernia surgery. Oh, that sucks. Okay. Is everybody tired of paintings yet, or do you want me to keep going? Or somebody can come up and say hi if they want to. Keep going. I'll keep going. If you guys get tired, just say so, and I'll like stop instantly. Okay. Like I say, this was a buffalo in the spring, and spring in Yellowstone is like this. And this whole section of the river and stuff, actually, there was a big flood a couple of years ago and totally washed this section of road away. Like the road is like gone, and I think they're working on getting it again, but I think they're putting it in a different spot. But yeah, that river that's there in the painting, like totally flooded and washed the road away and everything. Washed a couple bridges out. It was pretty bad. And this is a mallard hen and the drake behind her. And it was a 18 by 24. Oh, no, it wasn't an 18 by 24. It was bigger than that. It was like, I think 22 by 28, if I remember right. Yeah, it was a 22 by 28 oil painting. And it took me a full month to do this painting, believe it or not, because there's a hell of a lot of little markings on that female. Let me check the chat again. I need to go to bed before too long, but I'll keep watching. Well, if you need to go to bed, you need to go to bed. That is beautiful. Thank you. Okay, let me. One of my neighbors pulling up. The snow's kind of like halfway melted, but we're supposed to get like 3 inches again tomorrow. So okay. I made a gift for your stream, but I will have to send it to Sam and he can help you put it up with the green screen effects. Okay. Did you see what I sent you on Discord? I just saw where you said that you weren't getting notifications anymore. If you sent something this afternoon, I have not been on this afternoon. Other than the check messages real quick once, but let me check real quick. Hang on. These little gnats are driving me crazy. I shouldn't have opened up the doors today. But you know, after like heavy winter, it's like the weather gets even halfway decent. It's nice to open up doors and get some fresh air in the house. Oh, I see. There is a message from Sam. Oh, he sent me a picture of Grace where he cut out the background. Oh, I should do that for a little thing for my that you can share when you're a member. I will use that. Thank you. And Kat left me a message. Can you throw me the link, please? And no, I can't because you're already in there. So you must have found it. Okay. Now back to the paintings. We'll go to the next one. I saw you cropped out the background. Yep. Hang on. Find where I'm at. There it is. Okay. Next, this little painting was for William, who comes in here. Sometimes I forget his last name, but he's from Sweden. And it's a European owl, and I forget what kind it is. And it's a horrible photograph of it. But yeah, it was for him, and I sent it to him. And he was very happy when he received it because, like I say, the photograph absolutely doesn't no justice at all. And him and his fiance were quite happy with it. But like I say, the photograph of it absolutely sucks. I should have tried to get a better one before I mailed it, but I didn't. And this painting is the graveyard. Yes, I know. It's a graveyard. This was in Boston, Massachusetts. And we did this, what they call the Paul Revere walk, where you walk through all the famous places in Boston and you end up at Paul Revere's house, where he lived with his family and umpteen million kids. And anyway, this was one of the old graveyards. And we were doing the tour, and we stopped at this graveyard, and the tour guide was talking about everybody that was buried in here, which was a lot of famous people. And I love the afternoon light hitting the gravestones. So I got down on one knee and I was taking pictures, and I remember my daughter's like, "What are you doing, Mom? It's a graveyard." And I'm like, "I know, but look at the light. Look at the light." She thought I was crazy. But I did this painting. My youngest has it now. And because, of course, I never even tried to sell it. I just kind of did it for the funsies because I love the light on it. And it's not really very good either. I could do a lot better on it now. But I took it to, I was a member of the Cape Cod Art Association. And they had a visiting landscape artist, and you could bring 2 pieces in to have him critique. And I was one of the last people in, and you were supposed to just put your work against the wall. So I did that. I had it like facing against the wall. I had this painting and then a drawing that I did. And I was one of the last people. So he was critiquing everybody's work, and he was like, one of the things that he liked to say was when someone had like a landscape up with trees, he'd say, "Your trees look like a graveyard. They look like gravestone just placed here, 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 here." He says you got to like mix them up and blend them and have them behind each other and stuff. He says it looks like gravestones lined up. And that was one of his favorite critiques that he was giving people. So when it was my turn, I walked up and put it in the graveyard, and he was like speechless. It was pretty funny. Everybody started laughing because it was really funny. Anyway, so that was that one. What are you growling at? Just because I'm tapping my foot? Let me check the chat again. So when I'm doing the paintings, I can't see what people are saying in the chat. Okay. Okay. So this painting was a a commission that I did for a lady that lives in, her husband has a huge, her and her husband have a big ranch in eastern Wyoming, northeastern Wyoming. And this is one of her daughters. I ended up doing something of, she had 2 daughters, and I did a big drawing of one of her daughters, and then this oil painting of another daughter. And the photograph that she sent me for reference was actually in grass, just in a grass field. But I changed it and put in all the background and stuff, and I was trying to decide what to do with it. I just started like dragging the paint down. It looked like rain. So actually, I kind of like how the background turned out on this one, because that's kind of like my goal, is to have it there where you can tell what it is, but it isn't super detailed to distract from the image. Because if I would have had a really detailed background on this painting, it would be too much. You wouldn't be able to see the horse that good and stuff. And anyway, yeah, so this painting was a commission. I had to change some of it too, because both her daughters are extremely vain, and I had to be careful and not put any wrinkles on their faces, even though they were in their 40s and had wrinkles. And I also, like, you know, when you sit down and your jeans kind of bunch out in front, I had to get rid of that because it made her look fat. You know, all this other stuff. So yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, that was one of my commissions. All of us are getting forgetful in our old age. You guys realize that I'm going to be 69 this year? I don't even know what to say about it, because 69 is one of my favorite numbers. But I don't know if I want to be 69 years old for a whole year. I mean, all the jokes that you can say would get kind of old after a year, wouldn't they? You created an animated version of me? Oh, no. I know, huh, Cat? 69. And we won't say any more about that. Okay. On to the next one. Oh, this is a better photograph of it. It shows it better. The other one was a little bit washed out. But this one shows the colors in the background and stuff more. Oh, that's that painting again. This was a little painting that I did for one of my daughters, for my daughter Courtney. And that was 2 of the churches in Sandwich. When you first cross over the bridge onto Cape Cod, the first town that you come to is Sandwich. And Sandwich is a really, really old town on Cape Cod. And I loved the police cars because they said Sandwich on them. And I loved that there was a little ice cream shop that I used to love to go to that was called the Ice Cream Sandwich. Oh, but both of these church steeples that are showing here, I think, if I remember which one is which, I think the white one is the oldest one, and it was built in the 1600s. And I think the other one was from the 1800s, if I remember right. But they were both very old churches. And this section where I'm like standing and looking at the churches is like on the seaside of Sandwich, and this is salt grass from when the tide comes in and floods. And I kept looking. It was like standing in the middle of this bridge on the old King Highway, which goes all the way down Cape Cod. And the old King's Highway. And I waited and waited and waited until the autumn colors showed up to do this painting, because I wanted the fall colors in it. So that's the story about that painting. It was a 12 by 24. And somebody in here bought it, but I don't remember who. You would think I'd remember because I had to pack it up and mail it, but I don't remember who bought it. But somebody in my chat bought it. And this one was, again, a commission for the same lady with the daughters. And this is her husband. on his favorite horse. So I did that for them. That was a commission. It's a 16 by 20 oil painting. And this one was called The Bear. And the purpose of me doing this painting, what I tried to show, because truthfully the background is all made up and the foreground is all made up, but I wanted it to be like, there's a couple things about grizzly bears, and everybody knows, everybody knows that if you come across a grizzly bear with cubs, you are in trouble. And you got to just hope that backing away slowly will get you out of trouble, because they will protect their little ones. Everybody knows that that's a dangerous situation. But what is just as dangerous, and probably happens a little bit more often, is when a grizzly bear makes a kill, like of an elk or anything, it will it'll eat its fill, and then it'll bury it with brush and sticks and everything to cover it up. And then it will park itself a little ways away from its kill and just sit there and like sleep it off, but defending its kill. And that's also an extremely dangerous situation, because if you're out hiking and you don't know that you're coming across a grizzly bear kill, and that grizzly bear is sitting there guarding it, it's totally up to that grizzly bear if you're going to live or die, because they will protect their kill too. So that's what I tried to depict in this painting. If you see the pile of dirt and stuff behind him, that's what that's supposed to be. And then I made him like on a bank, so that if you're a hiker and you look up and see the bear up there. But the bear is actually one of the bears from the bear sanctuary that I worked at. This is Jakey. Jakey was one of my favorite of the grizzly bears, because he wasn't real bright, but he was really pretty. So yeah, that's what this painting is. And this, of course, is a buffalo. That was a little 9 by 12. It was fun to do. I remember when I did this one, it was just fun to mix the blues and the colors and stuff up, but it's a little oil painting. And I called it Black and Tan. And of course, he's a buffalo that was in Yellowstone. And that's a better picture of that bobcat. And this is a picture, a little 9 by 12 oil painting from Cape Cod, of one of the famous lighthouses on Cape Cod. Because, you know, I can't live on Cape Cod without doing at least one lighthouse painting. It's just like, you have to do that, you know. And it was fun to do. I was playing around. This is done with just 3 colors of paint, one yellow and one color red and one color blue and white paint, and that's it. And all the colors are in it are mixed with just three tubes of paint. And that's just an old cabin that was on my friend that I did the commissions for. This was on her ranch, and it used to be they used to have a old schoolhouse on a ranch, and this was where the teacher lived, in this little cabin here. Oh, that's another photograph of that painting. And this was a little 9 by 12 doe, a deer, a female deer. And believe it or not, this was a commission that I did of this lady's house. Actually, her girlfriend had me paint it for a Christmas present for her. And she absolutely loved it, but I always thought it was strange to have a painting of your house to hang on a wall in your house. But, you know, they wanted it, so that's what I did. And this is a big mule deer buck. And this was from the friend of mine that lives up in Gillette, Wyoming, which is way up like northeastern Wyoming. And his sister is the one that had the big ranch. And this is Tom, who had the bobcat. live underneath his porch and stuff. And this was a mule deer buck that was on his property that he sent me and asked me to do a commission to paint it for him. And it didn't turn out too bad for an amateur like me. And let's check the chat. Oh, come on, chat. I know I can get up here. Those look like Mormon churches. No, they weren't. They were like on Cape Cod. I don't think Cape Cod had any Mormons, but they did have Shakers because I went to a Shaker village. And they had Shakers and another group. But I forget what it was now. You look great for 69, and I'm not talking about your age. But no, they weren't Mormon churches. You look great for 69. Well, yeah, I don't know what 69 is supposed to look like, but thank you. I know that my jowls are starting to hang a little bit and stuff, but you know, it is what it is. What can you do when you get old? Let me see. Oh, I never get tired of painting. I just been doing drawings, a lot of drawings, because they're quicker and easier for me to do. I have a couple paintings that I need to finish, but paintings take a while because it's so much layering and stuff, or at least the way I do it, it is. It doesn't just sit down and do the painting. It's like doing oil painting. Okay, I'm going to give you a little lesson here. Oil painting versus acrylic. Acrylic is like basically acrylic is kind of like watercolor in a plastic form. So when acrylic dries, it dries really fast, and it's shiny, and it doesn't have as much depth as oil painting. It's just what's there is there. Versus oil paintings take over a year to dry totally. And as they dry, some colors get more and more transparent as they dry and stuff. So you've got to think, when you do oil painting, the base painting that you put down, and then you add more colors on top and stuff, eventually what colors you use in the base are going to affect all the colors that are on top of it, because of the fact that as they dry, they get more transparent. So you've got to be thinking about all that as you're doing the painting. But it gives it, I like oil paintings better because they have a lot of depths in them and just a feel about them that you can't get with acrylic. But they're time consuming, and you got to think about the layers as you're doing them. And I remember one of the lessons that I learned from that was there's an old oil painting like from the 14th century where the artist was doing a commission of a rich guy. And the underpainting, the guy had a beard. Well, then he shaved his beard off. So he had to change it to like the painting with no beard. But after hundreds of years, you can see the beard underneath of the guy's face. So you gotta think about that when you're doing an oil painting, because it's going to get transparent eventually. So anyway, oil paintings take me longer, but I need to get back into doing them. But I haven't been, because I've got to pay the rent, and it's easier to do a drawing and try to sell it quick than to do an oil painting that's going to take me a month and then try to sell it, if that makes sense. So that's one of the reasons why I've been doing a lot of drawings lately, is because the oil paintings take longer to do. Okay. Hashtag farting artist. Starving artist, yes. Yes, very definitely. Oh, that sounds awesome, Mickey M. My mom was the same with Indiana and the covered bridges. Oh my gosh, I love covered bridges. When I lived on Cape Cod, I went up to New Hampshire a couple times because, for one thing, New Hampshire in the fall is like, wow. And the other thing is there's a lot of covered bridges up there. So if you combine, hey, Merritt, I haven't seen you for forever. So I could say in the fall, New Hampshire is absolutely beautiful because the difference between on the East Coast and the West Coast where I grew up in the fall is that I think the main thing is the East Coast has sugar maples, and sugar maples are almost fluorescent bright colors in the fall. Plus, you got all the old churches and covered bridges and all that stuff with fall trees. It's just really gorgeous. I forget what I was talking about now. Do I still do commissions? Yes. I'm working on a commission right now, but it's a drawing. And I've also got 3 oil paintings that I'm working on that are commissions. But like I say, they take time because you got to like paint some and let it dry, paint some and let it dry, paint some and let it dry. Okay. I kind of know how to use a green screen, but the problem is that I don't have a green background. I don't have an actual green screen. But I do occasionally like use a green screen feature anyway. It just doesn't look as good as if I had an actual green screen. It's like glitchy looking, but I do it sometimes. Okay, be right back. Okay. I haven't seen you in forever, Merritt. I hope you're doing good. Oil is harder to get as you want it to be. Yeah, I mean, the main thing is with oil paints is you gotta remember that eventually whatever you have on there is going to show. Or like, for instance, if I'm painting a portrait, I will do like the underneath painting without a lot of detail, but to get the basic shadows and stuff in. But I'll do it with green, with a lot of green. And the reason for that is that mixing up colors for flesh a lot of times will be too pink or reddish. But if you have the green underneath, the green affects what's on top of it. So it will gray it out. It will gray out the reds without, because if you add, if you're doing something red and you add white to it to lighten it, oh, that's a different subject. Never mind. But anyway, yeah, you got to think about what's underneath all the time because eventually it affects what's over the top of it. So like I say, if I'm doing a portrait, a lot of times the underpainting will have green in it because the skin tones have a lot of red and the green kind of neutralizes the red a little bit without affecting the actual color. I don't know if that makes sense or not. It will gray it without like making it pasty looking, because if you add white to, that's what I started to say, if you add white to red, it just makes it pink. So it's hard to get the balance without counting on the underpainting. And I know none of that made sense to you guys, and I'm sorry for boring you. But well, you might have an oil commission for you after you're done with fidget. Okay, I'm all for it. They take a little bit longer, though, than a drawing does. A lot longer than a drawing does, but I will do them. And I love doing oil paintings, yeah. Oh, my goodness, Merritt. You were in the hospital for 11 days with 2 operations. Divine is actually getting ready to have a hernia operation. So I'm sure he can relate because he's home right now too, recovering and getting ready for the operation. It's been a hot minute. How are you doing? I'm actually better than I was like for a long time there. It was just a string of one thing after another. And I have like a pile of stuff that I got to get to the mail, and I haven't been able to leave the house because of different things happening, as in feet swelling, can't get shoes on, IBS, where I can't leave the house. And then I burnt my leg really bad, and it was like over a month for it to heal enough to where I could even get pants on, and one thing after another. But I'm actually getting better now. I actually feel better than I did like a year ago. Like a year ago or so, I was like having a lot of dizzy spells and stuff where I'd have to like grab the wall when I was walking, not to lose my balance. And I'm actually doing a lot better than I was. So, yeah. Picking the dog up in 10. Picking what dog? You're picking a dog up? Okay, let me see what else. Check your Discord and tell me the video I sent you doesn't look like Pam. Okay, I'll check it here in a second after I get done checking the comments. Oh, you gotta go pick a dog up? What kind of dog? You need extra yellow and green for my jaundice. The skin color, though, is off. Okay. Oh, that's sad. I'm sorry to hear that, Mickey. I'll bet. Well, when you're ready, you get a hold of me, because like I say, I've sent stuff to Australia and Sweden and England, and I can definitely do you a painting or a drawing and get it shipped to you. Red and white with a touch of mustard yellow could be worked into a nice skin tone as well. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to make skin tones. It's just if you do like on an oil painting, if you do like greens underneath, it kind of balances it and tones it down. And hello, Bunny. And hi, Vinoski. How are you? Yeah, art takes time. If it doesn't take, I don't rush stuff. Even I won't rush stuff because I just don't want to. To me, the art is important. The art itself, as in the piece of art, is more important than getting paid and getting money and getting on to the next thing. If that makes sense. To me, it's about the art, not the money. Even though, sometimes I'm like desperate for money and I really have to pay bills and stuff. To me, the ultimate is to do a good piece of art. That's the important thing. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys or not, but that's how it is. We are picking Phantom up soon. Yay. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Merritt, but I hope you keep coming in here. Hey, Derek. If you want to come up, I got the link pinned on top. Blackie, I'm hoping will be here soon, but he had some appointments and stuff that he had to do. He's been blind for the last 15 years. My mom got, as she got older, she got macular degenerate disease and lost her eyesight mostly, but she could still see a little bit. But just like she could see peripheral vision, but not straight in front of her. But I remember I used to laugh because every time I would call her, because I lived across the United States from her, I'd call her and say, "How are you?" And she always said the same thing. She was like, "I'm fine." But you know I'm blind. I'm like, I know, Mom. You've told me before. I know it's not that funny of a story, but it always made me laugh because every single time it's like, you know I'm blind. Oh, dear. You can't create mixed media stuff to save my life. I do a lot of mixed media, like with my drawings for the highlights and stuff. I'll use white paint, white acrylic paint, little dabs of a little bit of white paint mixed in there. That's mixed media, kind of. Colored pencils and acrylic white. I don't think Blackie is coming. He said he wasn't. He said what I saw. He said something about he'd maybe see us if he got back in time, but I got a feeling he probably won't get back in time. Yeah, he's okay. He just I think he had to take. I'm not positive, but I think he had some appointments and stuff to take his parents to. Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. I gotta check on Discord real quick and see your animation stuff. I'll be right back. Hang on. Open up Discord again. Oh, that's cool. Subscribe and like. Yep, I should put that up sometimes, huh? I'll see if I can figure out how to work that on. Okay. And we'll move on to another painting because we've had this one up for a while. Yep, that's a big buck. And let me switch to the next painting. That one was I believe that one was 22 by 28. So it was a good size painting. Good sized oil painting. And it took me a while to figure out what to do with the grass, but I kind of like how it turned out. A little bit of detail in it, but not too much. So that's kind of the goal, my aim when I'm doing the oil paintings with the backgrounds is to try to have just enough detail where it looks like it's detailed and your mind fills in detail without actually having a bunch of detail. And that is Jakey, just like sitting on his butt staring off into space. I did this one as like every year the Bear Place has a big gala where in the summer where they raise money because it's like a non-profit thing, but they raise money to feed the bears and stuff. So every year they have this big gala where they do that, and I used to always do a painting at it or work at a painting. And this one, I just sat there with a 16 by 20 canvas and like sketched it in with oil paint and did it, and had most of the painting done by the end of the gala. And then I had an art show the next weekend, so I set up my gazebo with my art and stuff in it, and set a chair up beside the gazebo with my easel and finished this oil painting there. That was a commission, and I totally hate that painting, but I had to do it. So there you go. And that one I don't really like either. That horse one, though, is a painting of, there's that painting again. That one again. The horse is a famous wild Mustang that was caught in the 50s. And there's a big, long story about him and stuff, but the photograph that I had to go from was like an old black and white photograph from like 1952 or something like that. So yeah, the guy was happy with it, but I didn't like it. I hated that painting. By the time I got done with it, I absolutely hated it. And I kept having to change it and all kinds of crap, but yeah. So this was from the every year on the Crow Indian Reservation, which is kind of west, north, and west of Sheridan, Wyoming. They do a reenactment of Custer's last battle and stuff, and this guy was at that. And it was a 36 by 24 oil painting. So it was pretty big. And that's a moose in the early morning with frost on the ground. Oh, the closer up of it without the frame. And it was a 10 by 20 oil painting, which is pretty small, but it was fun to do. And there's the elk again. And that is Emmett, and that was a 16 by 20 oval oil painting. And that, again, that's like from a snapshot that was then in my photo album because it was before digital cameras. And it was like in a photo album that I used to have of my artwork, and then I scanned it on the computer. So the quality of the photograph is kind of crap. But Emmett was a little cowboy at a branding that I went to. And he was quite the little cowboy. He was a pretty good little cowboy. He was probably about 5 or 6. And he cussed like a sailor. Oh my God, that kid had a foul mouth. Like really bad. But he was a pretty good little cowboy. And he'd climb up the fence and get on his horse from the fence, climb up and jump on his horse into the saddle. And then go rope the calves and drag them to the fire. But man, did he cuss. And that was just a little 9 by 12 oil painting of a mallard duck on the lagoon in Livingston, Montana, when I lived there. And the fall colors are from the trees on the other side of the lagoon. And it was like, and you can see a few leaves floating in the water and stuff, but it was just a quick little oil painting. And that is some buffalo in Yellowstone. And it was a 12 by 24. And the buffalo looked small because those trees were actually huge, huge trees. But buffalo are not small, believe me. But it was just kind of a fun little fall painting to do. And that is, of course, a Canadian goose with her babies, with her goslings. Let me see here. That is best with a chroma key turn on. I don't even know what a chroma key is. Copyright question. How are you allowed to use a photo to paint from legally? I don't use anybody. Oh, there's Derek. I'm going to pull him up here.
Hey, Pam.
Hey, Derek. Hello. 99% of the paintings and drawings that I do are from my own reference photos because I don't use other people's photos. If I do, I have to have written consent from the photographer, which makes it okay. And I have occasionally done commissions like the owl that I did for William in Sweden. That was from a professional photographer's photograph, but I got written permission from the photographer before I used it for a reference. But like I say, 99.9% of my paintings. Oh, hi, Kimberly. Hello. And what was I saying? Oh, 99.9% of them are from my own photographs, and the other ones are from like commissions of people's dogs and stuff like that. Of course, I can't.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing one right now where the dog's deceased, and of course I can't get my own photographs for that. So I will use people's photographs, if it's their photographs. But if someone like pulls one off the internet and says, "Can you paint this for me?" No. Not without written consent from the person that took the photograph. And even then, I don't like to do it unless someone really insists, because of the fact that there are a lot of artists that will just go on the internet and take photographs and use them for their own paintings without even asking. And then you've got somebody else that's using the same photograph as me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't do it. I just don't do it. I prefer to use my own, like this goose and stuff, this and the bears. 99% of what I showed you have shown you tonight, it's all been from my own photographs.
Mm-hmm.
You need to go to bed, but you could use a little art, M. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's how I deal with the copyright issue, is I won't do it. And if I'm doing a commission and somebody just, that's what they want, period, then I have to have written permission from the photographer. You love my butt? Well, thank you. I kind of like your butt too. It's an old butt now, but do you realize that this year I'm going to be, when my birthday comes up, I'm going to be 69 years old, Derek. 69. Wow. 69. I mean, Jesus Christ, whoever ever would have thought that I would live long enough to turn 69?
The big number.
Yes, it is a big number. Everybody says age is a number. 69 is getting to be a big number.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I need to go to the next painting.
Oh. My oldest nephew, he just turned 21.
Oh, he's young.
Yep.
Still young. This is, of course, Pelicans. Pelicans, and it was an 18 by 24 oil painting. When I did this one, I took it to a show that was in Livingston every year, an outdoor show where I set up a gazebo and had all my work in a tent and stuff. And that particular year, I'm going to tell you a story. That particular year, this guy showed up at my booth and parked himself in my booth and was flirting with me and asked for my phone number and stuff, and all that crap. So, he'd show up and I'd talk to him for a while and stuff. And he made a couple big errors, like really big errors. And the first one that he did was like major minus points. Is you're sitting there talking, and he told me, now my ex-wife, she was a really good artist. She had one of her paintings in the county fair. And I'm like, okay. That's some major minus points, because if you're interested in someone, it's not a good idea to talk about your ex-wife. And to me, it's not a good idea to talk about your ex-wife and insinuate that she's a better artist than me. And thinking that someone is good because they have to work in the county fair is just almost enough to make me laugh and choke. Because, and I'm not trying to brag, I'm just trying to explain it to you. I don't do county fairs because one year when I first moved to the Dalles, Oregon, I did the county fair just to get my name out there because I was new in town. And I took first place in every fucking category. And took the grand prize. And it made me feel really bad because there's a lot of amateur artists that enter the county fair and are absolutely thrilled if they place. and I was stealing that from them.
Hmm.
And I have never entered the county fair since because I felt so guilty that I did that. I mean, I took best in show, I took best oil, best drawing. I mean, it just, everything I entered, I took the best of it. It just made me feel really, really guilty.
Hmm.
And second place, I mean, this guy's talking about the county fair, which the other day someone also said something about online. They said in a chat, they said something about they told everybody that I was a really good artist and I'd probably be able to put my stuff in the county fair. And I was like, okay, because I have won so many prizes that I couldn't even tell you how many first places and stuff I've taken at big shows, big Western art shows, international shows. I mean, I've placed in a lot of shows. I was named, like, in a big international show, I was named one of the top 100 artists in the world. And you're talking to me about entering my stuff in the county fair? No. Anyway, okay, enough of that. I don't like to talk about that. To me, that's bragging. I don't like to do that. But anyway, so this guy, he tells me, that his ex-wife was a really good artist. And then the next day when he shows up, and I was all set up and everything, and he came and sat down, and he said, well, did you sell anything yesterday? And I said, yeah, I sold the painting of the pelicans, which is this painting here. And he says, oh, I didn't think you'd sell anything here. I was like, what? What did you just say? But I just kind of ignored it. But then the thing that he did that lost him all the brownie points in one shot was on Saturday night. On Saturday night, just about 6 o'clock, there was a storm rolling in. And we could see it coming. And everybody warned me to try to get stuff down. So when it hit with 60-mile-an-hour winds. And I had a gazebo with artwork underneath of it and boards and barn boards and stuff. And yeah, so I was scrambling. And the wind started picking up that gazebo like a kite. And I was holding on a corner post, and I had a couple of people that were walking by jumped in and started holding down corners of it. And I took the tarp down in a big hurry, and I took all the paintings off the boards and put them in the middle of the space, and then dropped the tarp down over the top of them because it also started pouring down rain. And when it kind of died down a bit, I took all the artwork home. I had one frame that the glass broke on, but other than that, everything was okay. But the next morning, I still had a full day's art show to do. And I was by myself, and the gazebo was laying on the ground, and a couple of the poles were bent. I didn't even know if I could get it back up again because I dropped everything in such a hurry. So I'm by myself and trying to set this gazebo up again with a few bent poles and stuff. And this guy shows up, and he watches me for a minute, and he asked me if I wanted to go for breakfast. And I told him, I said, no, I've got to get this gazebo set up again and get all my art up within an hour and a half before the show starts. Wow. And he looked at me and he said, well, I'm going to go to the casino and gamble. I'll give you a call later on in the week. And he left. And I was like, okay, you just lost all the brownie points, and I'm not going to go out with you. Because, holy shit, he couldn't offer to help me, Now,
wow.
Derek, would you have offered to help?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, almost anybody would. I would. I mean, most people would offer to help, not decide, well, I'm going to go to the casino and gamble then. Yeah. So that's the story about that. Should I keep going, people, or are you tired of my stories yet? I'm surprised you didn't smack him. I know. He called me 5 or 6 times before he got the message that I wasn't even going to answer the phone. During the week that followed, he kept calling me, and I wasn't even going to deal with him at all because that was it for me. All the brownie points disappeared.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Divine says, I may be young, but I still feel like I'm 196 years old. Oh, I know that feeling. I could say, though, from comparing how I feel now every day to how I felt a year ago, I'm getting better. Because there for a while, like when I'd get up and I'd get out of bed in the morning and the room would just be spinning in circles. I'd have to stand there for a while till everything like straightened itself out. I've quit doing that. Now I'm fine. And
well, that's good.
I'd have to grab the wall every once in a while to keep my balance, and I'm not having to do that lately at all either. My feet still swell, but I found the compression socks really, really helped me a lot with that. And the other thing is, the other day, about a week ago, and this is you being young aren't going to understand this, but they used to have these old commercials for a lifeline thing, where like if you needed help,
yes.
yeah, and everybody made fun of them because the lady would say, "Help me, I've fallen and I can't get up."
Well, they said it so dramatically.
Because when you get to be my age and you fall down, it's very hard to get up. And what I've been doing is I will scoot my butt out the door and get on my porch to where I can swing my legs down on the steps and then hold on the wall and stand up. But the other day, about a week ago, I was picking something up off the floor and I lost my balance, went down on my knees. And I thought, oh crap, I've got to make it to the door. But I held on, put one hand on the wall, and I fucking stood up. I actually got myself up off my fat ass off the ground without scooting out the door. So that was a yay moment for me. So I think, I don't know what was wrong with me, but whatever was wrong with me, it is better than it was.
Oh, that's good.
Now what's mostly wrong with me is I'm fucking old, but I'm like not as bad as I was a year ago.
Well, we haven't found the cure for that yet, so.
No, we haven't found a cure for that. Okay, good night, Mooney. Good night, good night.
Good night, Kimberly.
Okay, tomorrow. No art for me tonight. Oh, I do have a couple pieces for sale, but if you're heading out, I'll have to wait till next time to show you. I haven't even shown everybody what I got for sale tonight yet. Because I just wanted to I've been working on a commission for somebody, and I just needed a break and talk to people. Have actual conversations with people, which to me means live streaming. Okay, so is everybody tired of the art yet? You want me to turn it off for now?
All right.
Are you guys okay for a little bit more or what? I know some of my stories are downright irritating to hear, but what the hell?
Pam.
I'll go on to the next one. Like I say, this was a 16 by 20, or no, it was an 18 by 24 oil painting, and I called it the family portrait. And that is a very, very old painting, again, like from a photograph that I like before digital cameras, and I scanned it onto my computer. And it's some draft horses. Belgian strawberry roans that were so light they were almost white. And this guy had them. He always had an 8-horse hitch of these Belgians that were all the same. They were like strawberry roans, but really, really light. And then he had black harness on them with lots of silver and stuff in the parade every year. And I got to talking to him, and he invited me out to his ranch. And he was really an interesting guy. He was He was a Hooterite, and he built the wagons himself, starting with hitching up his horses and going out in the woods and cutting the trees down, and then hauling them to the trees to his barn with the horses, and then cutting them up on like a little one-man sawmill thing, and using pieces of stump to make the wheel hubs, and he said they had the cure for like a year and a half, and all this stuff. Anyway, he built this wagons all by himself, and he also cut the leather and made the harness all by himself too. So he was quite the guy to talk to, and he made sleighs for people, and he had made wagons for people, and he made a horse-drawn sleigh for John Wayne, and he was quite the interesting guy.
Wow!
But I remember he told me, which made me laugh. He said that if he died and got to the pearly gates, he would be told to go back home and finish up the work that he had started. Oh, and that is Bella when she was a little cub. Bella, the little grizzly bear. And it's a little 9x12 oil painting. And that was just a what they call a plein air painting, which is when you set up your easel and do the painting like out in nature. You just do a real quick painting, and that's what that one is. That's why there's like no detail or anything, because it was just a really quick little plein air painting. And that's one of the native dancers from the Crow Indian Reservation. Every year they have a big gathering with tribes from all over the place, and they have dance competitions and stuff. And that is a guy from the reenactment of the Custer's Last Stand. And that was a 18x24 oil painting, if I remember right. And that is a heron, a blue heron. And that one was a 12x24 oil painting. And that one was a commission of a cat named Harry.
Nice.
Oh, that's a better picture of it there. And that, of course, is some discus. That was a 12x24 oil painting. There's a Indian boy again. Trumpeter swan. And some teepees with the storm rolling in behind them. And that one is Waiwei's favorite painting. And this was a little painting I did for one of my daughters. This one was called Just Horses, and it was an 18x16 oil painting. And I took it to an art show, and it was just, it's 3 colors of paint again. 3 colors of paint in white. And just a simple little painting, but one of the other artists at the Ellensburg art show bought it. And the paint was still wet when he bought it. So, I mean, I finished it just before the show and took it and hung it up on the wall. And one of the artists walked in the room and said, "I want that painting." And I always think it's a nice compliment when another artist buys a piece of your work.
Yep.
And this one's called Keepers of the Sage. And that's a coyote. And it was a friend of mine, a buck had jumped his fence and got hung up in the wire, and he didn't find it until after it had died. So he couldn't rescue it or anything. So he just drug it a ways off and let the animals take care of it. And it's the coyote, and I put some magpies in front waiting for the coyote to move out of the way so they could get their share, because that's the way nature is. And it was a really big painting. It was like 36 by 48. So it's a pretty good size painting. And some people wouldn't like it because it's kind of gory, but at the same time, it's nature.
That's nature.
Yeah, it's nature. That's what happens.
Circle of life.
Yep, exactly. And that is another plein air painting. And that is I wish I'd written it down, but I didn't. But it's a very old breed of cow. And it was at the Shaker Village in Massachusetts. I went to see the old Shaker Village.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the really old breed of cow that they had there. And it's a butt, because I like butts.
Yes. Pam likes her butts.
I like my butts, yes. And that's one of the bears.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a little bit better photograph of it. Taking photographs myself is sometimes really hard to get a good photograph, so sometimes you'll see 2 or 3 of the same subject. That was another plein air painting, and I didn't really get a good photograph of it. I gave it to a friend for Christmas, and that also is a plein air painting in Paradise Valley, which is on the way to Yellowstone from Livingston, where I lived. And that is a mountain bluebird. I love the mountain bluebirds. They're such cute little birds. And when they show up in Montana, it means it's spring. They'll be gone all winter, and sometimes they'll show up when there's still snow. But when they start showing up, you know that spring is on the way. And this little guy was actually sitting on a skull, the horns of a skull. But I put him on a fence post, and I kind of like how it turned out with the barbed wire and stuff.
Yeah, it looks cute. Never seen that. Seen blue jays, but not that blue jay before.
No, they're a little tiny little bluebird, but not like the eastern bluebird that has the red throat and stuff. This is a little mountain bluebird. And that's another painting of the same little guy. And that's an old painting of my friend Jeff. And this is a mountain goat that was in a very muddy river getting a drink. So it was just a little painting, like a 11 by 14. And there's a photograph of the 12 by 24 oil painting. And let me check the chat again. I haven't looked for a while. Workers, repay team. Yep. The gathering of the juggalos. Okay. Thank you, Kat. Yep, that was a cow's butt. Okay, so we're only going to go another 8 minutes, so I'll show a couple more paintings. What have you been up to, Derek?
Nothing much. I'm about to get. I almost have another job.
Oh, good. And are you moved? All moved?
Yep.
Awesome. Is that the famous chair behind you, or that's a different chair? That's a different chair.
No, this is a different chair.
We used to, years ago, Derek would come up and he had this armchair, and you'd have the camera pointing at himself sitting in the armchair, and then he'd get up to go to the bathroom or go get a drink or whatever, and we would be left with like the screenshot of the famous chair.
Yep.
But we always called it the chair because it was important. It was the chair.
Yep, it was the chair.
Yep. We're down to just a few people watching, so I should probably go ahead and call it a night. What do you guys
Okay.
think? We're only like less than 10 minutes away from being 2 hours, and I don't think Blackie's going to show up.
Yeah.
Anybody will do, yeah. And I would imagine everybody's kind of bored with me right now. And I didn't see GRB at all, and I need him to get a hold. If anybody sees him or talks to him, I need him to let me know if he still wants that drawing or not.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he does. But he was transferring money to his PayPal, and it had to wait like 3 or 4 days, and then I didn't stream for a while because my allergies were so bad.
Oof.
And then I started working on the commission, and yeah, so it's been a little while. It's been a bit since I streamed.
Mm-hmm.
What did the gay rooster say? But if anybody sees GRB, tell him I'm not like in a panic or anything, but he just needs to let me know because somebody else expressed interest in the drawing. But it's his. If he wants it, it's his. So, but he needs to let me know one way or the other.
I think I saw him the other night on a Dell stream.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me, yeah. I was hoping he'd show up in here tonight, but I haven't seen him yet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Grasshopper, are you going to say, what did the gay rooster say?
I don't know. I don't know why PayPal's making him wait like 3 or 4 days. That's weird.
Yeah. I don't transfer money to PayPal. I have it set up to where it just takes it out of my bank account.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine it's going to be bad, but go ahead. You got our curiosity up now. So spit it out. Spit it out.
I mean, like, usually if you transfer it to the bank, it takes a day or so.
Yeah.
But
You can do it. You do it instant transfer, but they take a lot chunk out of it. So I usually do the slow way. It usually takes a couple days, but anyway, he wanted the drawing, so it's his if he still wants it. But I just need to have him let me know if you see him. Tell him to let me know real quick, because somebody on Facebook expressed an interest in it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for Sam. Spit it out. Are you going to tell us?
Don't keep us in suspense.
I know, huh? Any cock will do, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I knew it was going to be something along those lines.
mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to call it a night.
All
and
right.
thank you for keeping me company for a bit.
No problem.
And everybody in chat, have a good night, and thank you, mods. And my little guy that was like so obsessed with me, he didn't even show up tonight, so that's a good thing. But thank you for watching out for our mods. And good night. Good night, Derek. Good night, everybody in chat. Love you guys. Thanks for hanging out through my boring stream. Thank you. Good night, guys.
Night.